everyone. This is Hassa and Hussa, and welcome to TwinFold. As you all know, TwinFold is a web series that focuses on highlighting experts, resources, and tools in EdTech. And today we have a special guest. His name is Ernest. This is someone that Hussa and I both met while we were in college. We're all three of us are alums of Tufts University. And so it's really, really special to have Ernest with us. How are you, Ernest? It's been a while.
It has been a while. So good to see you guys. I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay.
Great.
Awesome. Awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and your background in education?
Sure. So my name's Ernest Bem, born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And currently I am a program manager for the Educational Opportunities Project at the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. The Lawyers Committee is a national racial justice and legal organization. It's been around since about 1963, and we focus on securing equal justice under the law for everyone, in particular racial minorities. And so our work focuses on everything from voting rights to criminal justice reform to education. And that's where I sit as a program manager on the education project, where I manage a couple of programs that are focused on ensuring that parents and students have access to all the resources and knowledge that they need to ensure that their rights are secure while they're in school. We also do have a program that's focused on immigrant students, making sure that they understand what their rights are as it relates to education in America. And I also engage in our policy work and our policy platform, both at the federal level and in some cases at the state level where some of our programming happens.
Excellent.
And in terms of sort of my career path towards education, advocacy, and youth development, it certainly hasn't been a linear path. I initially wanted to be a doctor, but there's always been sort of a through line to this work from my own experiences and engagement with our education system since I was a kid growing up in Louisiana. So, having experienced neighborhood schools and magnet schools and even some well-resourced, highly performing schools, I really got a firsthand experience and sort of with understanding how zip code can conspire to limit one's possibilities. The fact that one's parents and where they live has such an outsized influence on what's possible for students is something that I have intimate experience with. And so it's always sort of been a part of who I am and what I do. And so that I found myself in this career space is probably not by accident.
Right.
You know what? I'm so glad that you brought that up because I think that it's important for people to hear that. And like you, Ernest, our path to education has not been straightforward either.
Mm-hmm.
I always wanted to be a lawyer. I have a law degree. Am I practicing? No. Just like you, this has always been, I guess, the backdrop of how I saw education. Education was always the forefront in our household, no matter what you wanted to do. Right. And being born in Cameroon, but then raised in the United States and realizing, like you said, zip code matters. It determines, sadly to say, where people end up, the access to education, and then even sometimes the level of education that you receive. So I agree with you. It's intertwined in no matter what you do, whether you're in education, you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you're a professor, or
Right.
whatever. I guess my next question for you is, how are you coping during this pandemic? Has your work with your organization changed or been impacted by COVID-19?
Mm-hmm.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, first on the personal side, I need a vacation.
Right.
I'm tired, man, and I'm all zoomed out. No offense.
No,
I've
I
been
agree. The
I've
Zoom
been
fatigue
working
agree.
from home since March, middle of March, and we'll probably be here through the end of the year. My wife, who is also a fellow jumbo, is also working from home, and we have two sons, a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. So like many parents, we've been navigating, how to take care of our boys, finding ways to keep them engaged and active while also maintaining our full-time jobs. So it's been a challenge, but in many ways, it's also been a blessing to spend as much time with them as we have. Watching them sort of learn and grow and hopefully thrive has sort of been the silver lining of this pandemic for us. So we've been blessed, I think, and we don't really take it for granted because there are many folks who aren't able to work from home and provide for their family while doing everything they can to keep their family safe. On the professional side, I think, I've never been more proud of the work that our organization is doing to respond to this pandemic, from, as I mentioned, protecting voting rights to shining a light on some of the racial inequities in healthcare. And in fact, we were among the organizations at the beginning who really forced the CDC and others to sort of disaggregate the data around COVID infections and COVID deaths. And so, and with my project, we're also working to ensure that states and school districts are, living up to their obligations to provide an education to students, one that's safe, equitable, and meaningful. So it's been a busy time, with elections coming this past spring, all the way through November, school openings, school closings, and really the lightning pace at which policy is being made in Washington, D.C. It's been a rewarding and a challenging experience for my organization and for myself.
You mentioned earlier about the program that you manage, Parental Readiness and Empowerment Program. Can you speak a little bit more about how are you all preparing parents to address this new way of learning and this new way of looking at education for their youth, for their children?
That's a really good question. So our program, the Parental Readiness and Empowerment Program, is really designed to give parents information about how to best advocate for their children, especially when it comes to issues like special education, any sort of bullying or harassment that may happen on campus, any sort of school discipline issues, English language learner issues. I mean, these are really complex issues. The law is dense, and it's really hard for parents without any sort of legal experience to navigate. And so when parents face these complex challenges, especially, like ensuring that your kids have access to what they need during the COVID pandemic, for example, the PrEP program kind of steps into the gap and says, hey, we have some resources for you. And so what we do is we have an online e-clinic where parents can submit an intake form, tells what their problem is, where they're coming from, what's their school district, and what are the challenges that they're facing. And our team can either support them, provide resources, and if it requires additional resources, we can connect them with a lawyer to provide some free legal advice. Education is a national issue, but each state pretty much has its own laws. And so we have a network of attorneys that we work with that have been trained in education in various states. And so we're able to connect them with parents to provide additional support. And we also have additional resources on our website. We provide public workshops and individual consultations to help parents to empower them to be better advocates, whether it's challenging their school board and how to navigate that process, all the way to how to engage with a school discipline hearing. And so as we've seen during this COVID pandemic, those issues aren't going away. Parents are, in some cases, even more disempowered by the process. And so we are still available to parents and can provide some really targeted resources if they need our help. And so our website, prepparents.org, you can go there, find the intake form, find additional resources, and we can provide you with the support that's out there.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing that.
Ernest,
Are there any other resources that you think parents or even teachers should know about as they engage their students or engage their youth in education during this school year?
Mm-hmm.
It's a good question. I did come across this one resource, and I'm hesitant to endorse it because I think it's a startup. It's relatively new, and it may not even be up and running yet. But as we face this sort of racial reckoning here in America. We're confronting our past. We're trying to understand what's happening in our present, and I hope we're sort of laying the framework for a more just and equitable America. I've been encouraged by the fact that many parents, white parents in particular, are being really intentional about doing that individual work of addressing their own biases, grappling with the contradictions and myths of America and its founding, and really starting to think through how we engage our kids around these issues. If you look at the New York Times bestseller, Amazon bestsellers, folks are out there reading all these books, how to be an anti-racist, white fragility, et cetera. So folks are doing the work. And I came across this resource. It's called Reconstruction. It is a technology company that has created this online platform for supplementary education, right? So kids and their parents can go on and learn everything through English and math, and it's centering the curriculum around Black culture, Black contributions to America and the world in a really authentic way. And it helps us all and all students sort of come to a sort of a complete understanding of our shared history. And again, it's a way to supplement the work that's happening in classrooms, online. And I believe they're now actually recruiting teachers and tutors for that platform. It reminds me of a quote from, and I'll paraphrase, from Pedagogy of the Oppressed, which says that education either functions as a tool for younger generations to conform to the way things are, or it becomes the practice of freedom, that it becomes the means by which they learn how to change the world. And so online learning has that opportunity. We can be more creative with what we teach, how we teach it, how we deliver it. And the work that the folks over at Reconstruction are proposing and are doing, I think can get us a little bit closer to where we want to be. I believe it's founded by a former chancellor of schools in DC. And one of their advisors is from the Harlem Children's Home. So it's a really cool group of people, and they're really trying to again help us create a shared understanding of our world to really help us through as folks try to navigate all these twin crises that we're dealing with here.
So before you leave us, can you please give us and our viewers different social media handles and ways we can reach you, ways we can follow you and your work?
Sure. You can reach me on Twitter at Ernest Bem. That's ERNEST BIHM. And my organization is also online, but you can find us on the web at lawyerscommittee.org, where you can learn about all the great work that we're doing during this crisis and beyond.
All right, thank you. And again, as always, you can follow us at TwinFold on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And we'll see you guys next time. Thank you, Ernest.
Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.